God is a very broad topic in terms of today and the aspect of it, but I think men that are structured around having God are men that are more focused, they are men that are more driven. I think if you take a world and you remove the aspect of God from it, then what is there to really live for? I mean, sure, there's money, there's women, there's love, but at the end of the day, everyone just focuses to the simple point of that having a God and surrounding your beliefs around religion give you a sense of purpose. And I think someone without purpose lives a life which is unfulfilled and which is doesn't come to the sense of I will accomplish something one day and I will leave behind information that other people can take into consideration, they can learn from. And that is a very big topic in this current world. And that's currently why I think having a religion and having something and a mindset that is based by God to wake up every day to perform and knowing that He is watching, knowing that you're supposed to be doing good things to help others because of the path and because of the morals in which that God that you believe has directed you to, that is a very big thing and a huge topic that can be argumented, and many people will argue against it. But I will sit and argue and say that, but I will solidly stand in the point of saying that you're needing a God and you need someone that has morals which you look up to. And you can take into consideration the whole thing with YouTubers, people that have got fame, people you can look at many different role models. They've got a lot of people that follow them and they're leaders. And you can even take a sense of that. They are not gods, but they carry certain traits that people try to reconstruct for themselves and build a life out of. And that's exactly what having a God is. It's not someone that is human, it's someone that is obviously above human, and it is not an entity, but it is, well, God is, it can't be explained, honestly, but to have something which you follow of godly structure, I think is necessary within your life. Otherwise, what are you working towards at the end of the day?
Why do people question that having good intentions aren't necessary?
I think that if you choose to live a life where you do good and where you choose to help people, where you choose that to wake up every day to put a smile on your face, even though you're feeling sad, so that you can implement the people's lives around you and make an impact on them, I think that is doing good as itself. And to do good is to stop, for example, on the side of the road when you see someone homeless, and to perform an act of service or an act of kindness. And I think majority of the world nowadays is so focused on the individuality of being yourself, because you see the world as this is the world that I live in and this is my world, and the world doesn't rotate around its own axis. The world rotates around the axis of you as an individual. And the time it takes to do good, to stop and step out of your realm of your world into someone else's axis of their world to help them perform the good deed, is something that is lacking. And I think doing good at the end of the day, it all comes around and it comes back to you and it will benefit you within the future. That's why doing bad things to bad people and doing bad to even good people, it will never benefit you positively in the future as you continue through this life and the path that you decide to walk down and to travel.
Why do men need to live hard lives?
I think hardship and heartache and pain is truly what builds a man and truly what makes a man have the charisma and to become someone that can sit in a room with a bunch of normal people and give life stories and give people's not only his opinion, but he encourages people and he shows people a different aspect of way in which they can live their life. And I think it comes down to the point of that the only way for men really to grow is to go through hardship and hard times. You take someone that has lived a life of pain and suffering, and they come from this life of being absolutely nothing, and they grow into someone which is absolutely amazing. They have stories to tell, and people listen to those people. I mean, you look at some of the biggest conquerors of the world. They didn't live easy lives. They probably came from nothing, from dirt, from scrap. They lived like peasants and they built themselves up. And those are the people that have the best stories to tell, and they're the one with the bigger influence.
What is the definition of a man?
So, this is a very touchy subject, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes in terms of sexuality. But with someone that I'm a man, I'm born a man, and I can comment on this simply because I am a man. And I do think that men have to go through hardship, but only the thing is, you have to do things as men that you don't want to do, but you do it anyway. Performance is the key to becoming a man, and performance is something which will separate you from being a boy to taking yourself to being a man. And yes, I'm young and I'm speaking off of my own opinions and the own morals which I've learned, but and they might change as I grow up, don't get me wrong. But the thing is, sitting and looking at the world in which we see it, as a man, you start to realize that there are certain things that you need to do and to take into consideration, like providing for your family and looking out for the people that you love and having the right mental morals and having the right manners to stop and greet people and be polite. Because at the end of the day, as I mentioned earlier, it will all come back to you and it will be something which you benefit on. So simply being a man is to being strong, to be able to say no to that woman, being able to say no to drugs, to alcohol, and to the negative impacts and implements of your life that people try to change. And it's just to be strong with you as an individual to have the ability to say no. I mean, you can take someone which is a boy and he could be the age of 38 and be saying yes to things which he shouldn't be doing that have negative influence on his life. But you take someone who is at the age of 18 and they can look at a drug and they can look at alcohol, partying, or a woman that has bad intentions for his life and he can say no. And I would argue and state the fact that that man of the age of 18 or 19 years old is more a man of someone that is 38 years old that still says yes to everything even though he doesn't want to do it.
Why don't men think about leaving behind a legacy?
I think legacy all comes down to the point of the footprint you want to leave behind when you leave this earth. You could be someone that walks around every day like an NPC that doesn't implement good into other people's lives, that doesn't try to help people, and you can leave no legacy at all, where your name won't be remembered, where people won't remember the good. You'll have a funeral, and 3 weeks later, you'll be replaced by someone else's memory, and someone of importance will be put over your name simply because of the good that they did and the legacy that they chose to leave behind. You take a look at certain people in the world that have done and accomplished and conquered things. Their legacy carries on for generations and decades. But someone like the average person that walks around on the face of this earth, men and women that don't try to accomplish things, that don't try to change the world for better, you sit back and you kind of look at them and you hear about thousands and millions of people's deaths. Did you know their names? Do you know who they are? Do you know what they've accomplished? And the total answer that comes to that is absolutely nothing, because it didn't focus on leaving a legacy. And I think it's good for people and for men to strive to leave a legacy behind, because it shows who you are as an individual. Obviously, if you have an ulterior motive with leaving negative legacies behind, then obviously people will not remember you as someone that did good. They'll remember you as someone that was destructive and someone that had bad circumstances in their life and they didn't choose to take a bad circumstance and make good out of it. And I think sometimes even the best legacies that are left behind are people that have done bad and changed their life for the better to help others. And you take away of that aspect of being self-absorbed and giving to others and putting other people first, which is one of the main things about leaving a good legacy behind. And it doesn't have to be that it means socially you leave a good legacy behind. It could mean even in your community as an individual that you can leave a legacy behind, even if it's amongst small amounts of people, because those small amounts of people will take over the worldly views and the actions that you took place, and they would reiterate them into their own lives and use that as energy to help others. And that legacy was formed from you as an individual, even though you've passed.
Why do people fear death?
I think death is a very broad topic, and a lot of people see death as a negative thing. And obviously, because I am a man that has God in his life, and I am a man which understands how the world works, and I understand that if you are a man without God, then there is fear, because you can sit and question and ask yourself, what comes after death? Is it reincarnation? Is it nothing? Or is it a eternity of pain? Or is it eternity of good? And I think a man that's got God in his life understands the concept that death is simply an action which happens anyway. And why would you sit on something, for example, in life, and not try perform and be the best person you can be and be the man that other people will remember if death is inevitable. Fearing death, in my point of view, is not necessary because at the end of the day, I know that when I come to pass, even though I have done one or two bad things in my life, I currently am working towards the redemption of myself to become a better person, to help others, to push people to do better. And I do not fear death because I know at least when I die, I have taken the time to help others, even those people that may have wronged. And maybe it's not everyone that I've covered, but at the end of the day, I'm still working towards becoming a better person. And death for me is not something which I'm scared of because I know exactly where I'm going. But for someone that is living a life of sin or living a life which is not godly based, you will look at your life and you will consider it, and you can fear death and you can fear the pain that comes along with it simply because you do not know where you're going and because you do not understand what death is all about. Your life is simply just you as an individual renting a body, which is a capsule which you carry around a soul. It is as simple as that. There is nothing more which integrates into it. And the fear of death is simply based around the fact that you do not have God and that you mentally and morally need to learn to change and to adapt to the fact that without God in your life, purpose becomes very little.
What's a question that you are constantly asking yourself?
I think a question which I ask myself is, am I doing enough? Am I getting up every day? Am I working hard? Am I staying focused? Am I working towards the goals and the aspects and the things I would like to achieve? Do I get up and do I be polite to people? Am I looking at myself and am I breaking every situation down in my life saying, okay, did I do the best possible thing that I could possibly do to benefit me and to benefit others? And I think that's a question which everyone needs to ask himself because self-criticism is the number one thing for you to grow. If you sit there and you look at yourself and I am perfect and I am doing everything I need to in life and you haven't got the dream car and you haven't succeeded and you don't have the mindset that you have and you're trapped in worldly views, I would arguably say that you need to change and adapt your mindset to questioning if you're doing good enough. Because if you see the world that if you see the world from an aspect of I need to do good and I need to do better and you question yourself as an individual, then surely at the end of the day you will start to better yourself. And I think that is the one question which I ask myself most in this world is that am I doing good and am I making sure that I self-criticize myself so that I can become a better person each and every single day? Not only for the benefits of me and for the benefit of my future, but the benefit of my future wife, for my kids, for my family, and for the people that I leave behind that I've impacted on.